Many parents of teens with functional neurological disorder or FND struggle with the same daily challenge. One day, their teen has a lot of energy, and then the next day, they are exhausted like a zombie. And schoolwork feels overwhelming, and even small tasks can feel so unpredictable. Now, without a clear structure, the day can quickly turn into stress, frustration, or avoidance. But the goal is not to force productivity. It is actually to support their nervous system. So in this video, I will show you how a simple strategy called pacing can help teens with FND manage their energy, reduce overwhelm, and gradually rebuild daily routines, even though it seems really hard. So let's dive in. Hi, my name is Dr. Lee. I'm a Pediatric Health Psychologist and the founder of Teen FND Academy. I specialize in helping teens and families recover from functional neurological disorder. One important part of recovery is helping the brain and the nervous system experience structure and predictability again. And that is where strategies like pacing can be really helpful. So let's start with understanding the challenges for teens with FND. Many teens with FND experience challenges that can make daily life feel so unpredictable and quite frankly miserable, right? Because their energy may fluctuate throughout the day, they may experience brain fog maybe all the time, and they may have difficulty starting tasks even when they want to do them, or they are forgetful and they can't pay attention. And it's almost like they're having ADHD on steroid. And symptoms can sometimes feel very unpredictable. And all of this can make ordinary routines much harder. When the nervous system feels overwhelmed, the brain may struggle with important skills like planning, organizing, and initiating tasks, all happening here at the frontal lobe area. So a teen may know they need to start homework, clean their room, or get ready for the day. Their brain may feel stuck on where to begin or how to begin, for that matter. So without some structure, this can quickly lead to teens feeling stuck, anxious, or straightforward, avoid, and unsure what to do next. And that's where pacing can make a huge difference. Pacing is a fancy name for building a pre-planned breaks and structured activity periods throughout the day. And these are intentional brain breaks that happen after a certain amount of time or after completing a small chunk of tasks. So instead of pushing until the nervous system is so exhausted, pacing actually helps the brain work in manageable segments followed by short recovery periods. So think of it like that your child is constantly recharging the brain battery, so then they are increasing the endurance. And this approach helps teens maintain momentum while also supporting the nervous system, making it a little bit easier to stay engaged in daily activities without becoming way overwhelmed and shutting down. With FND, the brain often needs predictability more than productivity, and what pacing means for FND. And when families first hear about pacing, they sometimes assume it means slowing everything down or doing less, and they get upset. They're like, how dare you? We are already limited and restricted, and then how could you take more away from my child? Hear me out, because pacing in FND is actually about being strategic with energy and attention. It's not so much about doing less, it's actually the opposite of it. And it doesn't necessarily mean filling every single minute of the day or pushing your teen too hard either. And it also does not mean waiting until your teen feels exhausted or symptoms flare before taking a break. Because with FND, that's too late, okay? Instead, pacing means creating these small, manageable segments of activity followed by planned eye-brain breaks. And these breaks happen based on the time or after a task, not based on whether your teen already feels overwhelmed. For example, a teen might do something like a short block of homework or schoolwork, then a brief brain break, then another activity like movement or routine task, followed by another break, and then going back to schoolwork, and then another break, and so forth. And even if the teen feels fine in that moment, they still take a break. Why? This is where the secret is. Because those short pauses help the brain and the nervous system recharge constantly before fatigue builds up. The Family Guy shares a handful of practical strategies to help you get out of this survival mode, and it shows why our structured approach gets such a strong result. Grab it from the description below. It is free. So over time, this actually helps teens develop greater endurance. And there's another important benefit to pacing. When the brain knows what to expect, activity activity followed by a break, it actually creates a predictability. And predictability is very calming for the nervous system. For teens with FND, small blocks of activity with pacing work better than long schedules. So this is how parents can use pacing. When families start using pacing, it is really important to start super simple. You don't need to plan an entire packed schedule for the day, for example. And instead, begin with just a few activity segments, each followed by a short intentional eye-brain break. Or even you can start with one super simple activity and just getting into the rhythm of it. For example, a day might look something like this. So in the morning, your teen might wake up, do some light movement, eat breakfast, for example, okay? Then they take a short break, or they can take a short break in between these things, right? Do some light movement and then the break, eat breakfast and then the break. Later in the midday, they might do something like work on a short school task, followed by another planned break to recharge, on and on and on again. In the afternoon, they could do something like do a small activity or some movement, then complete another short break and task, another break, task, again, followed by break and task and break and task. Okay, so the key idea is that these activity segments stay short and manageable with breaks in between. So it seems so cumbersome, but basically the pacing approach helps prevent the nervous system from being overwhelmed, which is exactly what you want to resolve FND. Right? So instead of pushing until symptoms flare, the brain and the body are regularly recharging, like your cell phone being recharged throughout the day, which helps teens gradually build more stability and endurance throughout the day. So they have more energy and then brain mental energy towards the end of the day. Now, it's really important to give teens some control, all right? An important part of making pacing work is involving your teen in the plan. So you're not the one to basically decide and telling them, okay? Teens are much more likely to engage when they feel like they have a voice in what the day looks like and they have a sense of control. And instead of creating the entire structure for them, try and build the plan together. You might ask a question like this: what feels like a manageable first activity today or for tomorrow, so you can be ahead of the game? Where should we place a brain break during that activity plan? Now, this collaboration helps teens feel more ownership of the process, so like they feel like they have say in it, right? If you want to see how my full program of Teen FND Academy works and how it's helping families resolve FND for real, then watch the video linked in the description box below. And it's also really helpful to allow some flexibility. Some days the nervous system may have more energy, right? And then the other days it may need a slower pace. It doesn't have to be one and done. The goal is not to create a rigid schedule that has to be followed perfectly. The real goal is to help the brain experience small, successful steps throughout the day. And when those small steps start to add up, teens actually begin to build confidence and momentum at the same time again. Now, if your family has been struggling with the days that feel so unpredictable, it's really important to remember that small adjustments can make a huge difference. Now, this is, again, not one and done, but over time with practice. Right? Because recovery often does not start with big changes. It starts with a small, what I would call it, a golden 1000 BBs instead of like one silver bullet, like consistent shift that help the brain and nervous system feel more stable. Even a simple daily structure like using pacing and a few short activity segments with the planned brain breaks can help teens begin rebuilding confidence and, again, momentum throughout the day with practice over time. And these small successes are what gradually help the brain and body learn healthier, more reliable patterns again for your teen. So if you'd like to learn more about practical strategies that support teens with FND, you can watch the playlist next to see what steps you can actually take starting today.